Welcome to another episode of Victoria's Lounge from the Crown Plaza Hotel. Now today on the show we have some ambitious women who dare to chase their dreams and follow their passions and are quite the success stories. Now before you hear their journeys, which I hope you gain some inspiration from, let's meet them now. Kate Kibara is the CEO and founder of Kate's Organics that grows, processes, and distributes health foods across East Africa. A clinical nutritionist, Kate started the company to encourage more Kenyans to embrace healthy eating. Dorothy Getuba is the co-founder and CEO of Spielworks Media Limited, a regional leader in content creation, production, distribution, and broadcast. In its 7 years of existence, Spielworks has produced award-winning properties, 15 television shows, over 20 shows for the web, and over 40 movies for television. Diana Opoti is behind Kenya's first fashion PR consultancy, Diana Opoti PR, specializing in telling stories about African fashion brands and finding ways to connect premium African labels with consumers. She's also the brains behind the 100 Days of African Fashion, a digital fashion campaign promoting African fashion. Remember, hashtag Victoria's Lounge is how you can chime into the conversation on social media. Let me start with you, Diana, because you're in a very interesting, you've kind of created a niche for yourself in the fashion industry. Not a fashion blogger. Yes, you're in public relations, but you've created a space that is very different and something that is necessary, especially here in Kenya. So kind of talk us through what it is that you do.
So what was important for me as a journalist was to communicate stories about Africans, and I specialized on, I picked the fashion industry. I wanted to tell stories about a generation of African fashion designers. So speaking to the different designers across the continent, I realized that they had the same challenges. It was access to market beyond the fashion platforms, right? And so I started to wear their clothes, and I did a 100 days campaign to deliberately connect the designers to the consumers and just show how, what a variety of African clothes existed and aesthetics, because everyone thought of African fashion and thought African textile, or what we call Ankara. And so that then evolved. And so in as much as I've had a face in the social space, it was really driven by the need to connect designers to consumers, and that's what has helped my brand evolve. So from the television series that we create to you could say in a sense, curating their pieces on social media as a blogger would, but more a personal style diary, and now we're now selling the clothes. But you see, the vision has always been the same. We need to connect those designers to consumers.
So I mean, it's kind of redefining what African fashion is. Is it that an African designer actually put it together, or it actually has some African aspects or elements to it? What would constitute African fashion?
You know, we no longer put that into, I find that it's too general a way to look at African fashion, right? I look at it more as independent designers trying to find a voice in local markets that are increasingly being overwhelmed by Asian imports, secondhand imports, or the big brand names that are mass manufactured. So if you really look at the fashion environment, we've got amazing designers of African origin, or Ghanaians living, say, in New York or London, because that's where they live and work. So they're really global citizens, but of African background. But they choose to manufacture in New York, but that's still an African designer, right? We've got Europeans who live here and manufacture here and work with local artisans and people. And even if it's not that special a product, it's still produced here. So I think African fashion was just a way to curate what we were doing, but we really at the back of it are thinking about it in terms of independent designers, local markets.
I mean, Dorothy, you left a venture capitalist job in Canada doing really, really well and decided there's something that is happening here that I need to get into. Of course, you're in the media, you've made a name for yourself. But the point where you made that decision, what was going through your mind to leave security and a really good job to come back home?
I think I have always had the audacity to do life differently. I've always been a risk taker. I do understand it is a luxury, not everybody can afford spontaneity and deciding to pack up your things and leave and come to a whole new place to start over again is not something that everybody can actually do. So I don't take that for granted. I'm actually very, very, very thankful for that. What I think propelled me to come was that to come back home and to get into the creative sector was really my desire to do that which I thought was purposed and that which gave me joy and that which I was passionate about. Because I'd worked in the corporate space and I was unhappy and disillusioned and bored really. Yeah. And I just wanted to, really for lack of a better word, to live what I felt was my best life. And that is actually being in the creative space and creating a business out of it. So really, disillusionment and unhappiness where I was is what propelled me to make that change to come back home.
I think even beyond that, the flip side is you had to now learn the industry you wanted to get into. Yes. So it's beyond having passion and being excited about getting into it. It's, I have to know what this is all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I am a big, I push and I'm a proponent for passion, and I'm like, you really need to love what it is that you do and you must be excited about it. But I also say, and I think experience has also taught me that passion in on itself by itself is not sufficient. You have to, the passion is what keeps you going. When things are really, really tough, you remember why you're doing this, it's going to be worth it in the end. But when push comes to shove, you really have to know what you're doing, what is your industry, what is your business, who are your competitors, and how you're going to position yourself, how you're going to grow, new markets, business development. There's a lot that is there to be learned. And so I think that that it is a fine balance. Passion is absolutely necessary, but you also have to know what you're about.
And I think what I love about your story is you were willing to take on a job of a production assistant. Most people would think, no, I'd rather maybe shadow.
But it's the best way to learn. It is actually the best way to learn. I didn't have a clue about the industry. I knew I wanted to play in this space, and when I was offered a job as a production manager, I figured, well, I'd done some project management before, some work that was project related, I could actually be able to do this. It was a different space. I cannot quite say that I learned how to produce, but I learned how not to produce, which is also very, very important, because you then learn from all those challenges and mistakes, and you then can be able to move, to come and the soft skills, so to speak, and you can apply them in your business. And it's been it was a baptism by fire. It has been a steep learning curve, numerous mistakes made, but equally just as many lessons learned, which I think makes us a better company and certainly makes me, I believe, a better person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And Kate, you're our health guru. I mean, you've kind of switched and shifted the Kenyan market to thinking about what they eat. How did that journey start for you with Kate's Organics?
I like what she's talking about, passion.
Yeah.
Because for me, I grew up obese. I was very big all my life. My parents, everyone in my family was big.
That's hard to believe, but yes, keep going.
Oh, I have photos I could show you. And it hit me in high school. You know, when we were doing our challenge weekend, you just joined Form 1, you're a mono. You have to do this challenge weekend for every other person. I was modeling, and they told me you're fat.
Wow.
And that's when it hit me that I was fat. Actually, I was very big. And I hated it. You know, they made me feel bad about myself. They made me, it's a long story. So I started Googling and reading about healthy eating, healthy living. And through that, through my relatives, through people I know, I realized that that's a challenge in Kenya and in Africa today. We are falling sick because of our lifestyles. We are falling sick because of what we eat. And we already have natural food. We already have you know, healthy eating is part of us. You just wake up, get your ndomas and your arrowroots from your farm. And it's only that we don't realize that that should be the thing. We want to get westernized. We only want to eat the other foods that are not okay. So it became my passion. And after I lost my weight, it was not easy, but many people are convinced that you can do it. You can actually do it. Even if you have any disease, even if you don't have it, it's very easy to manage. It's very easy to prevent. And it's very easy to eat healthy in Kenya. It's actually easy because we already have those things with us.
And more affordable than if you did it in the West, for instance.
Absolutely. There's one time I'd gone for a meeting, I remember, in Europe, and I had to drive like for 30 minutes just to get spinach or to get lettuce, you know. It's not as easy as we have here, and we don't know that that's what we need. And I'm not saying you can't spoil yourself. It's fine. Take your ice cream, go somewhere, you know, do your thing. But just consider that eating healthy is helping, because there's so much happening. There's a lot of cancer and a lot of...
So how did you make that shift from you lost the weight, you went through your own journey, to being a health consultant, guiding people through that process, to now actually making products that people can consume and be healthy?
Coming up with my products was something that came up through my consultancy. I talk to you, I'll talk to you, I'll talk to you. You tell me, okay, you need this diet, I'll talk about organic foods. So I thought, I was invited for a meeting in Germany, and it's a worldwide thing. Africans come with what they did. Only had a paper talking about diabetes, and every other person from East Africa had a banana, they had something solid. So I told myself, okay, Kate, pack something. That the next time, because it's a yearly event, next year, and that's how Kids Organics became. Amazing.
But I love in each of your stories is a common thread of just creating a space. If it's not there already, create it and just run with it. And on that note, let's take a short break on Victoria's Lounge. When we come back, we'll be talking about the challenges. It wasn't that easy to get to where they are. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge right here from the Crown Plaza Hotel. Now, Diana, beyond just finding that gap in the market, there's also the issue of why a lot of local brands, African brands, are not growing as fast as they can or should. And how are you kind of helping them create their space and scale what they're doing?
So one of the challenges the fashion industry has is it starts from the top. If there's no structure, there's nothing to sort of propel or create a demand for product. So in other more established fashion markets, you have a fashion week, the magazines support fashion week, bloggers will support that, and then manufacturers or buyers will come. So buyers will come and buy, and then people will go into manufacturing. There's a whole ecosystem. So in a market like this one that doesn't have that, we have to work twice as hard to get people to even know that a product exists. Just it being, you know, like Dorothy's always challenging me, because it's one thing to wear something and have likes, but how do you fulfill, you know, those likes are actual people who want something, right?
Could be a sale,
Yes. So how do you fulfill that? And that's, again, then we have to question what the retail market is doing in terms of offering those products to the consumer, because we know that designers should just be creating, but in this market, designers are forced to be fashion entrepreneurs. So you're talking about how quickly we can convert that, and that's one of the biggest challenges that the industry has. The fact that a designer will need to think about the economics, they need to think about the design, they need to find access to market, they need to constantly be engaging with the consumer as well. So those are some of the challenges that just top of mind would affect the growth of the local industry.
Okay, so you actually help in connecting them. I mean, I guess also trying to convince them that they need your services too.
Yes, and that's the thing, because people imagine that as long as they can access any social influencer, half their work is done. But PR and marketing is a lot more than that. So Diana Poti PR, for example, what we do is try to give designers strategy. It's more than publicity. Publicity is just one facet of it. So strategies to get them to access the right niche market, to create the right product for that market, to help them understand what the consumer is looking for in terms of, say, even work solutions, right? So that's one part of it. So it's ended up being more than publicity or PR, as the world would sort of, like other PR people in the world would just do PR. We have to do more, and it's an all-round fashion consultancy. That's a mix of marketing and strategy. And then, so retail is also the other thing that we found, because if I'm going to position myself as a social influencer to drive awareness about those brands, then I might as well fulfill the other end, which is getting people to access the product.
You know, Dorothy, I was watching something really interesting the other day. It was Steve Harvey and Oprah, and he was talking about mistakes that successful people make. And he said, I can guarantee they were in a room full of an audience
that Oprah and I are the ones who made the most mistakes in this room. And the thing is, the most successful people have probably made the most, you know. They're probably not going to tell you everything, but for you and your journey, which were the defining ones that you felt, if this didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am today?
I mean, I find that when I'm asked about that what's my biggest mistake or my favorite mistake?
Favorite mistake.
I always think it's like someone asking me, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite TV show or movie? Because there's so many of them, right? You are right. I have made numerous mistakes, but I always look at it like it's collecting data. You're learning how not to do something, and it's been a very interesting way of learning. Experience is very expensive. It's that teacher, you learn the lesson only after you have gone or you've made the mistake. I think for me, one of the things that if I could do differently was really pay more attention to the business side of things. Spielworks Media grew organically extremely fast. We grew just in leaps and bounds. And how I give an example is, I say between 2009 and I believe 2013, we produced 4 TV shows, but between 2014 and 2015, we produced 14 shows and 41 movies. That kind of exponential growth. And what happened is that something was bound to give. And one of my biggest mistakes was not diversifying in my client base. That was a big, huge issue. And what happened is, one day I woke up and I found that my biggest client had pulled a multi-million shilling deal from under my company. And what happened is, on that September, I felt like my company just caved in. Like I literally sat in my office, read the email, and I found that we were coming undone in the seams. And that was because we did not have a diverse pool of clients. And so when someone is supplying 90% of your work, if they say we're going to pull away 80% of that work, you're done as dinner. And so what I found is that by the time 2015 was starting, Spielworks was starting again from scratch. Literally, not a lie. We literally had to start again. We had to shut down our studios. We had to restructure our debts. There was just like so much that we had to do. But the advantage was that you then take these lessons you've learned over the last 5 years and you apply them in the 1 year. And what that means is that then you do better and you grow. And so for me, that was one of the most difficult lessons, not looking at my client base and being able to diversify. That truly is a lesson I can tell people, to make sure that you do not rely that deeply on 1 or 2 clients. Have a diverse base. Then if 1 pulls out or 2 pull out, then you have 7 or 8 to depend on. So that has been my biggest and most painful lesson.
So having several irons in the fire that you can rely on. Kate, for you, what are some of the challenges, running an organic business? The thing is, you cannot use pesticides, you can't use any enhancers to grow a lot of the crop that you are producing or processing. So what are some of the challenges that you run into?
In fact, I relate to her. I'll start with the production bit. I work with my farmers. I have over 20,000 farmers in East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. And you find if they're not your farmers, that hit me once, somebody else will steal them. And you wake up the following day, you don't have farmers and you don't know what to do. So organic production is difficult because you won't spray, you won't modify the product, you won't change how it looks. So it actually takes time to produce organically grown produce. And for me, it was a challenge at the beginning, but today it's okay. It's part of my work because I know if I'm growing aloe vera, it's going to take this much. When I started aloe vera, it takes 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, for you to have good aloe vera, and the best aloe vera is barbadensis. So it takes you 5 years. So at that time, it's strange, but it actually happens. But production is difficult. And what the downside is that if I was greedy, the demand is more than the supply. I would get all this produce that is not organic certified and sell. But because I have to do that, and I love what I do, you only have to rely on the produce that is there. going to Tanzania and Uganda to get farmers is a challenge, really, and cross-border trade, paying taxes, you know, getting the produce here when it's fresh for me to blend it and dry and package is really hard. And I've been trying to train farmers in Kenya. That would really make my work easy, but that organic bit production is really hard, but you get used to it as you grow. Let's talk about marketing. Who knows about organic foods?
Exactly.
Who cares whether my green tea is organic and there's another one that is organic? You'll just pick the other one.
Right.
So marketing and awareness and education is really difficult. You know, by the time you tell somebody why you need to eat natural foods, why they must be organic, nothing added, no preservatives, the animals are not grown with hormones, you know, everything is in its natural state, it's a challenge.
And a lot of it has to do with you keeping the integrity of your brand. I mean, how do you manage to keep that up so people do trust that it's a quality product?
I thank God for that, because I've been recognized in the market as one of the most trusted persons and brand, because I teach, I practice what I say, and I think for me it's because it was a passion. It's not all about money, and of course we need the money at the end of the day, but it's what I'm giving back. And it's working along the entire chain. You know, if you cheat, even in the organic industry, and you cheat today or cheat today, they'll know. Everybody is, oh, it wasn't this. So we try as much as if I don't have what is required, if I cannot meet my demand, that's what hurts me the most. And you find that I won't supply, but I'll tell them it's because I don't have. Just wait until I get more. But it's something that I'm working on. It was a challenge 2-3 years ago. Today I can meet my demand, and I keep on recruiting new farmers. So production and marketing is like just convincing a customer, why would you buy organic in Nairobi? Because everybody says their products is natural and organic.
Exactly.
That's a challenge.
Wow, and it's definitely a story of being authentic to who you are. I'll be finding out that from Diana when we come back. Welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. I hope you're keeping the conversation going on social media. # Victoria's Lounge. Now, Diana, you're an industry where everyone wants to kind of get in, you know, and if not, they are in and they're trying to put themselves out there thanks to social media. So how do you keep yourself authentic with all that's going on and people actually want to come to you?
Great. I think fashion is fun because whether you're a TV anchor or musician or just not even just, but then even just a normal person going about their day-to-day lives, you want to shine, right? But for us, I think one of the biggest challenges for me was, how do I stay authentic to this thing that I'm asking people to do? So when I started the campaign 100 Days of African Fashion, that tested me because I had to wear different African brands every single day, and I had to answer questions because people would be like, oh, but that sounds like a white person. How can they be an African brand? Or can you sustain a closet that's 100% African? And so I've had to walk the talk. I think 98% of my closet is African. I never go anywhere. I'm wearing an African label, Otbaso. I never go anywhere wearing anything bad. And I think it's made the conversation so much easier because it's not, before it used to be that we only wore African clothes for occasions, or if you had a really strong personality, you know, people like Joy Mboya, then you see her and you immediately see, oh, Adele de Jacques jewelry. It's not that, that's not the conversation anymore. I've had to make that a little bit more mainstream. So in terms of standing out, I think the competition is great, and sometimes it's not even competition. It's actually, for me, I think it's great that personalities such as, say, for example, Janet Mbugua wears increasingly more African clothes. I think it's great. I think there's what you call also healthy competition. If there are many bloggers in the space, people running similar campaigns, it's before people used to say, oh, imitation is the best form of flattery. I don't think that that's what it is. I think people are listening to the message and thinking they too can contribute at different levels, because it's easy to think of clothes as just fashion. There are different pay levels, there's different influence groups. Lucia Musau is running a campaign, I think, called Lucia Musau for African designers. And look at her, we look different. She's tiny, she's petite, So in terms of who she can influence, I would look at that as positive filtration of a message, right?
Yeah.
So the fashion industry is great in that sense, and I actually feel I like that people are listening more to social influencers and bloggers, because then the message is reaching wider audiences than just a small group of people.
Yeah. I mean, I hear in what you're saying that your name is literally on the line, your reputation. When you're running something that is your own, unlike someone who is in employment, it's just what you've kind of been given for that day. But everything is at stake. I mean, just talk about the pressure and how it actually grows you.
So initially I thought it was pressure, because I thought, oh, I have this great event to go to. I have to wear an African designer and I have nothing. And then there's always that urge to reach out for the other pieces that you already have, or rush to Kashebe Angie, who has amazing event clothes. And then with time you realize it's not even pressure. It's nobody demands it of you. You are the one who's setting out. You have power of, you can control this message. You can also grow organically. You can take your time to understand what it really means for you. Many people also think that if you get into the African fashion retail space, you have to go luxury because that gives you status, right? I'm looking at my consumers and thinking, well, they have access to all the international luxury labels if they want to, because they travel. So why not give them good quality clothes, ranging between, like we discussed, between 80 and 150. So again, I think the external pressure is great.
Dollars, yeah.
Yeah, so 8,000 shillings to 15,000 shillings.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so I think a lot of the noise we hear from external doesn't really exist. It's what we think people want us to do. So you are in charge of your narrative, and the same way you expect people to change is the same way you can also grow organically and allow yourself time to even truly fit into a segment that you can properly represent.
Speaking about creating your own narrative, Dorothy, I want you to take you back to when you almost shut down. What were you telling yourself in that time to come back?
I remember on the 1st of January 2015, I took some time. And when I say some time, I mean like probably 10, 12 hours. And I sat down by myself and I had to make a decision if we were going to continue or if we were going to close down. And whatever decision that I was going to come up with, I was going to have to stick by it. Quickly I knew that no, we're not going to close down, but we're going to stay open, but we're going to have to come back. And I think this is where resilience and tenacity, you have to just summon it from inside you, and you have to remember why you started this in the first place. So these were the conversations I was having with myself. But I think more importantly for me, because I think my mom is the one who taught us from an early age to take responsibility. I remember when I was 24, I had a boyfriend who left me for my friend, and I was so devastated. And I remember my mom asking me, so what part did you play in the demise of this relationship? And I was very offended. I said, don't you understand I'm the one who's broken here? She said, no, I get it. But then it is important for you to look at what you did, what part did you play in this, and so can you learn from it? And so it didn't make sense then, but of course over time I've come to learn to look at things and say, what part did I play in this? And so it is easy to blame the network that pulled the contract, but also it's important for me to look at myself and say, as a leader of this company, what part did I play? So those were the conversations. It was about taking responsibility. It was about saying, these are the lessons that I have learned, because I couldn't move forward if I did not articulate these lessons and consequently learn from them. So those were the thoughts that were going through in my mind. And really the single thought that giving up is not an option. It is absolutely not an option for myself, for my team, for the industry as a whole. I knew that this was the 5th year and of the company, and many businesses shut down. And I knew that we have to go on. I had a 2030 vision, and so we had some ways to go. So that kind of encouragement, and you have to for lack of a better word, psych yourself up and remind yourself why you're doing this, and keep on going. So like I said, I had to summon resilience, and I had to summon that strength from inside. And really, truly, for me, it came from spending some time with myself and with God, and saying, really, where to from here? And just being still and asking myself, what is the next best move? Because when you're quiet, then you'll be able to hear that. And so I believe I was able to do that.
You know, Kate, you kind of alluded to it, but what are the special challenges that you would go through being a woman without playing the woman card? But just because of your gender, you would just kind of come across obstacles and roadblocks by virtue of being a woman. What are some of those things that you would encounter?
I walk into a meeting and they're like, oh, you're Kate Organics, it's just you.
Wow.
You know, they expect it to be, I don't know whether it's a big woman or a fat woman or a Muzungu woman, I don't know. And or
a man.
Or a man. And you find that they actually just look at you. But once you are in it, like I've said, I'm in a lot of boards. I had a lot of, can I call them clubs or meetings that are not even African, they're international. The best thing is just to, when you're there, when you're in that space, you'll just show who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're a woman or you're a man.
Right.
You know what you're bringing. You know what you're going to provide. And I think for me, that's what matters. It has been difficult even getting contracts, even getting tenders. When they just know it's Kate, it's just me. There's a time I walked somewhere and they said, it's just you? And I'm like, yeah, it's just me. But it's improving, but it's still there.
In 30 seconds, advice would you give to up-and-coming entrepreneur or someone who's thinking, I'm just done with this dead-end job, I need something different, I need to do my own thing? What would you tell them?
Anyone who's trying to get into a creative space, yes, there's what you can put up yourself, but there's also some very significant, there exist some very significant collaborations that could really make a difference for your brand, because it also comes with mentorship. It eases you into understanding tax. It eases you into understanding how to run a multi-label business, how to handle debt, how to handle credit rather. So I think that for me would be my advice, that as you venture into business, it's not about how young and successful and being a woman in business, it's about getting the right mentors to guide you through a process.
Great advice.
I think my advice to woman or man who wants to get into business is, number one, is that you need to enter the space knowing that it's going to be very, very difficult. So if you decide that you're going to do it and you're okay to deal with this, then that's amazing. So I say then, dream. You have this dream that you have, dream it. Say this is what you want to do. Things happen in the mind first, and then they come to life. Then decide, make that decision to do it. You begin by beginning, and then do it. Wake up from that dream and start working towards it. So that is my advice, that it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be worth it. Dream, decide, and then do. That's what I can advise folks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What about you, Kate?
Mine is easy. Plan to fail. You know, when you're planning, you want to start a business today, tomorrow, you just plan the best success. You'll have money at the end of the month, you have your business plan, but still have another plan. What if it fails? What will you do? You know, you tried this, you had everything perfect, you had the business plan, you had you had the money, you are funded, you started, it's a service industry, but in 2 months time you did not get. So plan for the failure. What happens when you get to that bit when it does not work according to what you wanted? And planning to fail means you have a backup plan. When I started Kids Organics, I was crying in my house one time. It's not working. I rang my dad. Had I known that it would be this difficult, I would not have done it. I wish I had that failing plan that time, which came up because of that. So I think planning to fail is important, and I like people who are authentic. Do not copy people around you. Just be original. Start your own thing, and it always works. If it is your passion, it will work. Do not copy or duplicate what somebody else is doing.
Perfect advice. Thank you so much, Kate, Dorothy, and Diana. So find a partner and a mentor, dream big and work hard, and always have that plan B. I leave you now with a very important segment when it comes to investment from Diamond Property Merchants. Take a look.
Victoria's Lounge Buy and Build in association with Diamond Property Merchants.
All right, we're back with the diamond property merchants. Last week we were talking about the present when it comes to agribusiness. Today we're talking about the future. So I have Edwin with me again. So Edwin, buy and build, what's that whole concept about?
Buy and build is a concept that came in to assist you who wants to become a homeowner, but due to whichever reason you've been either locked out of the mortgage market,
Right.
or you still want to buy that dream, you want to own that dream house of your own design, but you don't know where to get the fundis, you don't have the contact of the architects, you do not know where the process begins. So there has to be someone to guide you through. So as a real estate company, we are working with you. So we're giving you the land, yes, and it comes with approved structural design plus the costing. And the bit about it is, if you buy through the buy and build,
Yes.
you save up to around 50 to 70% the cost of actual
A finished
purchase in the market.
house, right.
So this is the feature of real estate. We know that within the urban areas, housing demand is a key issue currently. We cannot have an urban center with over 17 million, only 28,000 homeowners. Whereas mortgages and of course the mortgage industry has locked out some of us. There has to be an option for those who can't afford the 6, 7, 8, 9 million and buy and build the approach currently.
So if I'm someone who has a greenhouse right now and I want to convert, how would I go about that process?
Okay, as I said last week, greenhouse farming was just a mark timing process to help the land appreciate, to help development to come closer to you. We are in Kajiado right now. We are in Isinya, Kajiado. Someone would be asking, why on earth should I be living that far? Now, we've seen the development, the transformational story of within the urban centers. What was the outside town back then is now part of town. Syokimau, Kitengela, Mlolongo, and the same story is really developing to the outside. So we do not want you to wait for for Isinya to become part of Kitengela for you to start running to get land, because the land will be unaffordable at that particular time. So we are placing you in here on the land right now. We already have the approved plans for home ownership, and we have development coming in here. We have the SGR, of course, we have the improved roads and all that, but that will take place in the next 2 to 3 years before you can convert it into a home.
Okay.
So the agri was just part of helping you buy the time, and of course create part of the capital to build the home. So we're telling you now, in the next 2 to 3 years, you're converting this into a home, but through buy and build. And we all know, again, with technological advancement, the cost of owning a home is coming
Down.
The cost of building is coming down. What about the cost of the land?
Going up.
So let's
Always
assume,
appreciates,
let's assume in 5 years you can build a nice house at 1 million.
Yeah.
How much did you buy land in 5 years? Probably 5 million. So would you rather wait and buy a shamba at 5 million and build at 1 million, or buy the land right now and wait to build on it at 1 million then? So this entire concept of buy and build within the gated community control development is just preparing you who will be the future homeowner into placing you on that path of home ownership, but right now with affordable land ownership prices currently.
So Edwin, someone says, I am sold, I want to get onto the buy and build. What are my options?
Perfect. We have a major project happening on Kangundo Road. As we've seen, Kangundo Road and Mombasa Road is probably the next feature of the city. We're expanding toward those directions. We have a project called Ebenezer, where price of the land and eighth will cost you 600,000, and you have approved plans for building from as little as 1.5 million, a bungalow, 2-bedroom bungalow, to around 4.8 million. That's the cost of a 4-bedroom mansionette. So as a buyer, the first step is you come and buy the land. Depending on the strength of your pocket, you choose a dream house that suits you. Probably if I want to raise my kids in a bungalow or a mansionette, you choose one, and then we give you a payment plan toward the home ownership. At the end of the day, you become a homeowner, but through the affordable home ownership means, not buying the ready-built house.
Right. So is it a gated community? Because sometimes someone's thinking about my land, then someone puts up some hideous apartment block next to me.
A home. A gated community, super controlled. By super controlled, I mean we already have the approved plans and structures in there. You know, we normally, as a land selling company, we've been saying there is controlled development, but Vicky will go and come up with her own plan. Then a neighbor will come with her own plan. We only control against apartments and high-rises. But if you take an aerial view of that estate, it's a mixture of all types of bungalows. So for this specific one, we already have the plannings and the drawings approved. So it's super controlled development, gated community with all the other amenities available. So water available, electricity available. Because if I was to build my own home elsewhere, I need to do my own roads. I need to get my own electricity, the septic tank, you know, all those that need to come with the infrastructure that comes with the home ownership package. That has been provided for you. Yours is just to purchase the land, pay for the house, and boom, you're a homeowner.
Okay, great. Short and sweet, and I hope it gets more people thinking about how to spend and invest their money.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Edwin.
Thank you very much, Vicky, for having me.
Pay 600,000 shillings to get a 50 by 100 plot and put up a magnificent bungalow or maisonette at the Ebenezer Gardens. SMS HOME to 22002.
Thanks for watching. I'm Victoria Rubadiri. Thank you to Crown Plaza for hosting us. Let's do this again next week. Quite the success stories. Before you meet them,